Hey guys, Dominating Reaper here. So, I'm outside the cinema and it is the day before Christmas Eve. Yep, final trip to the cinema before the Christmas holiday. And well, I'm about to head in to go to Pandora again. Yep, it's time for Avatar, Fire and Ash. Been really looking forward to this because, you know, these films just offer up an unparalleled epic spectacle. So I'm really excited to see the experience Jimmy Cameron has in store this time. But the only way to find out if it's actually any good is to head in, get some snacks, and get seated for Avatar, Fire and Ash. Alright, so we're here. Let's go get that Naviplex combo. Alright, let's go. So yes, I've got my popcorn here and a Coca-Cola in the Navi cup and tin, ready to return to Pandora. So, Avatar, Fire and Ash. I'm back from seeing it. This is once again directed by James Cameron and produced by his longtime producing partner, John Landau, who, of course, tragically passed away in July last year. And I believe this might actually be the last one he is involved with, and there's quite a nice little memoriam to him in the credits. Now, I was really looking forward to watching this, because of course these films are just unrivaled audio-visual experiences. Like, this and Dune are like the only franchises offering a blockbuster entertainment on this scale. And plus, I do like the first two films a lot, so I was looking forward to seeing where they would take the characters and the world of Pandora next. But is this a worthy continuation of the story built up across the first two films? Let's find out. So in the film, Jake Sully and his family are still living in the oceans of Pandora with the Metcaina, where they are reeling from the death of son Nataeum in battle with the Sky People. Then one day, they encounter a new threat in the form of the Mangquan tribe, also known as the Ash People, led by the aggressive Varang, who doesn't worship Na'vi goddess Ewa, but instead worships the fire. This threat becomes even bigger, however, when it puts them back into the orbit of old nemesis Colonel Miles Quaritch. So, of course, this franchise has been consistently proving its doubters wrong at every turn since day one. So, obviously, you're thinking, well, surely the cracks are eventually going to show, right? Well, maybe so, but honestly, today is not that day. Because while this one might possibly be the weakest of the franchise so far, honestly, I still really liked it. Obviously, the thing you're here for is, of course, the world of Pandora. And on that front, it delivers big time. I mean, the cinematography here is, of course, stunning, you know, capturing these vast, sweeping landscapes beautifully, particularly the absolutely gorgeous bioluminescent colours. And, you know, it's especially stunning when you pair it with the visual effects work, which, to the surprise of absolutely no one, is fantastic. Now, it's worth noting they apparently had something like 7 years to work on the effects here, and it shows because they are flawless. I mean, could you imagine what it would be like if Marvel gave their effects artists time to work and, you know, didn't just randomly change stuff on the fly in post-production? The end result is just an absolute feast for the eyes. Now, comparatively, I do have some issues with the story because, this feels more like an expansion piece to Way of Water than it does like a sort of full-fledged standalone sequel that moves the story forward. And possibly because they were developed as one movie and then, split into two because it got too big. But it means that it kind of feels like it's spinning its wheels a bit narratively, as it does kind of retread territory from the previous two films. But I'd be lying if I said that, it's them just playing the same note again, because that's so clearly not true, because there are new things here, and they are very interesting. I mean, I particularly enjoyed the sort of opening stretch of the Sully family grieving the loss of Mateam and sort of showing how they cope in their own ways, particularly Jake, who's, sort of torn between, following the Na'vi way and protecting those he loves, but also, has that, obviously bit of human in him as well, and a sort of urge to fight, being a Marine. Yeah, Sam Worthington is, of course, great. His acting has really stepped up in these two films, and, he really sells that sort of, that warrior and family man perfectly. I also really enjoyed Neytiri's arc of her sort of, the film sort of challenges her prejudice towards humans. And I mean, Zoe Saldana absolutely crushes it here. She's great in all films, in fairness, even an absolute turd sandwich like Emilia Perez. Yeah, she is fantastic. I also enjoyed Loak's arc, obviously expanding his thing with Payakan, but also showing his desire still to prove himself to his dad. A couple particularly interesting ones here are, a sort of expanded look at, at daughter Kiri's connection to Ewa, and once again, Sigourney Weaver is great in this role, sort of selling the teenage mannerisms and indeed that sort of, deeper psychology of someone, connected to a literal deity. I also really enjoyed the role Spider played as well. They gave him a much more beefed up role here, a much more active participant, and he really drives the story forward in a big way that I will not spoil, but it is incredibly compelling. Yes, Jack Champion's acting is still a little bit wooden, but they really beefed up Spider's character. And I particularly enjoyed his sort of divided loyalties between the adoptive family he has and the Sullys and his actual father, Quaritch. Speaking of Quaritch, an easy highlight of the film is, of course, the Manquans. Yeah, a really, really fantastic addition. I really enjoyed their sort of rituals as a tribe, but also their much more aggressive warriors' instincts. Like, they've got full on kamikazes, and they put that to great use, particularly in an early on action scene with the Wind Traders. Brilliant spectacle. Of course, we have the standout villain, Varang. First of all, would I'd lay down my life for for this insane firewoman. But yeah, Una Chaplin does a great job in this role. She really sells this, unhinged, menacing figure. And a highlight of the film is easily her dynamic with Quaritch, of which, yes, Stephen Lang is great as well, and their pairing is just like one of the best parts of the film. And now, of course, yes, it delivers the great action spectacle as well, aforementioned Wind Trader scene included. There's also, yes, some great moments with the Metkaina as well, and the Tulkun, and it's really well done. And I think Simon Franklin's score does actually, bring that sort of sweeping spectacle to life, and also brings those sort of darker notes with the Manquan, and sells it really, really well. And something I really appreciated here is that the story actually does go to some quite dark places as well, particularly moments with like Loak and Spider, and those moments do really hit hard. And it's thanks to the fact that the film really does a great job taking its time with these character dynamics. That yes, we are invested, and So those moments are allowed to hit because we care about the characters. But of course, it all builds to, yet another absolutely glorious climax that is just pure spectacle and somehow manages to make Way of Water's climax look small fry in comparison. Without spoiling it, I'd say it's kind of a fusion of the first film's final act and Way of Water's, bringing those two together into an absolutely glorious epic scale spectacle that does deliver those hard hitting emotional moments with the characters. Now, Cameron has talked about this potentially being the last one, but honestly, if this were to be the end, I don't think I'd be satisfied because, obviously there are threads still yet to resolve, but honestly, given where this one ends, which again I won't spoil, but the note this film ends on is a really, really interesting one, and honestly, I would love to see it explored more over the next two planned films. Overall, while Avatar Fire and Ash may certainly have issues story wise with repetition, it more than makes up for that with breathtaking visuals, thrilling spectacle, and once again, compelling, sympathetic character dynamics. Out of 10, Avatar Fire and Ash gets an 8. So, let me know down in the comments, have you seen Avatar Fire and Ash? What did you think of it? Which of the 3 Avatar films is your favourite? Did you like Varang? And are you excited to potentially see where the story goes next? Or do you think this will be the last one? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.